Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That our immigration system is broken is an understatement. And this broken system certainly did not originate with the Biden administration. And the fact is the Biden administration was handed a system decimated by the previous administration. So working toward a long-term solution will take time, and certainly Congress should pass comprehensive immigration reform as we tried to do in a bipartisan way in 2013. Secretary Mayorkas, you were asked several questions by Senator Graham about vetting of Afghan evacuees. To clarify, did these evacuees fly directly from Afghanistan to the U.S.? And can you describe the screening these evacuees went through before they arrived in the U.S.?
Thank you very much, Senator. I was unclear whether Senator Graham was referring to flights from Afghanistan to third countries or with respect to flights from those third countries ultimately to the United States. The operation that we executed was working with our allies. We developed third countries that served as transit points where Afghan nationals ultimately to arrive to the United States would be screened and vetted. We deployed personnel and equipment to conduct that screening and vetting. That screening and vetting involves not only the Department of Homeland Security, but the Departments of Defense and State, working with our law enforcement and intelligence agencies across the federal enterprise. We vet both biographic and biometric information, and it is our policy to vet 100% of the individuals in those transit countries before they board a flight for the United States. I should also add, if I may, Senator, forgive me, that the vetting is recurrent. It is ongoing. And as we obtain more information, for example, at the military facilities, what we call the safe havens, where the Afghan nationals reside until they are resettled, they fill out paperwork. We ingest the information that they complete in that paperwork into our screening and vetting process, so it is recurrent, it is ongoing.
Thank you. So clearly, before these evacuees can come to our country, there is quite the process, vetting process. You had stated previously that you, quote, find it frankly abhorrent that we can proceed to remove a child who does not have counsel by her or his side, end quote, and that when a child is unrepresented, it becomes a more difficult case and a government lawyer has a lot more to do. In fact, recent data from our immigration courts show that from fiscal year 2018 through the first half of fiscal year 2021, unrepresented, unaccompanied children were 97 times less likely to obtain legal relief in immigration court than their unrepresented counterparts. So clearly, when a child has legal representation, that is better for all concerned. Can you tell us more about why legal representation of children in immigration proceedings is so essential?
Senator, thank you so much for your question. Immigration law is extraordinarily complex. The proceedings are very complex, and we cannot expect a young child to understand how to navigate a legal system, to identify the rights that they might actually have under United States law and vindicate those rights. And that is the reason why it is so difficult for a government attorney to make sure in achieving justice that the rights of a child are indeed presented to a court.
I'll never forget, Chairman, talking about going to an immigration court, which I have also visited, not the same court, seeing a tiny child being foisted up without any representation and facing the immigration court. It's inhumane. And this is why I have just reintroduced the Fair Day in Court for Kids Act, legislation to help challenges at the border by ensuring counsel for all unaccompanied children in immigration proceedings. And I hope that you can continue to view the importance of these children having legal representation. A lot is being said about the number of encounters at the southern border. And what is not being said is that most single adults continue to be expelled at the southern border using Title 42 authority before they can claim asylum. So these Title 42 expulsions basically encourages migrants to try crossing the border as many times as possible. This recidivism causes migrants to be repeatedly counted and doesn't seem to be a fair or accurate measure of border security. Can you tell us how high this recidivism rate is at the border and how much of the increase in encounters is due to these repeated crossings?
Senator, the number of recidivists is not immaterial. In fact, that approximately 1.7 million figure that has been cited before doesn't include recidivists. In other words, it is not 1.7 million different individuals, but rather encounters, and there may be multiple encounters of a single individual. We've taken actually enforcement measures to reduce the amount of recidivism. For example, working with our partners in Mexico, we have been taking the removal flights of individuals and bringing them further into the interior of Mexico to make recidivism more difficult.
So my question was, do you have any kind of figures on what the percentage of recidivism is?
We do track that, Senator, and I will have to provide that to you subsequent to this.
Is it relatively high? So that the 1 point whatever figure is very inaccurate?
Senator, the 1.7 million figure is inaccurate, but we must recognize that the number of individual different encounters at the border is very high. In fact, this fiscal year 2021.
Yes. Thank you. Before I run out of time, I want to turn to pre-clearance. U.S. Customs and Border Protection has pre-clearance operations where CBP personnel are stationed at 16 foreign airports in 6 different countries through pre-clearance. We have no such facilities in Asian countries, and I hope that we can work with your department to create such procedures in Asian countries, such as Japan, because pre-clearance makes it so much easier for travelers to come to our country because they are pre-cleared to do so in these facilities in foreign countries.
Thank you, Senator. I look forward to working with you towards it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Senator Hirono. Senator